Welcome to Creative on Purpose Live, a show dedicated to advancing solopreneurs building a business that fits their life, not the other way around. If you're ready to make a better living by making a bigger difference, you're in the right place. I'm Scott Perry, publisher of Transcendent Solopreneurship and creator of the purpose-driven prosperity model. You can visit creativeonpurpose.com to connect with all of our free resources for solopreneur success. I am thrilled to have my friend Suzanne here with us today. Suzanne, welcome to the broadcast.
Hello,
Please tell
hello.
everyone who you are, what you're working on, and where can we go to find more about you and the difference you're making.
Well, I'm Suzanne Taylor-King. Everybody calls me STK for short. I have been an entrepreneur for over 40 years. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping entrepreneurs and coaches grow their business with an authentic, soul-driven marketing plan. I I love entrepreneurship. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 11 years old when I got in trouble for my first business. And that's a great story if you want to talk about that. Uh, you can find all about me at SuzanneTaylorKing.com. And I'm here on Substack with 6,000 other amazing entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab with Suzanne Taylor-King.
Awesome. Well, I would love to jump right into, as a fellow troublemaker, as a youth,
Yes.
and a struggling entrepreneur since the age of 7, um, or not a struggling, an advancing solopreneur since the age of 7. I would love to hear. The first question is always just about origin story.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I doubted very much that little 9-year-old Suzanne dreamt of being an entrepreneur and a marketer, but
No.
it sounds like maybe she did. So,
Well, I think I've always just been a creative thinker. I love creating things that help other people. And, that first business was really a delegation project. I had a paper route and I didn't feel like delivering the papers. Um, Always reminds me of a Seinfeld episode, but I just decided that I was good at the collecting the money, having the relationships with my clients, and I didn't call them clients back then, but I was quite this schmoozer, and I had a great personality when I was a little kid. I could talk to adults really easily. So I paid 2 neighborhood boys to actually deliver the papers, and I just collected the money. And when my parents found out that I was paying these 2 little boys $3 an hour to deliver the papers and I was making all the tips, they were very upset with me. And I very nicely, politely pointed out that, wow, wasn't this a smart idea? Because I could be having fun doing something else while somebody was doing my work and I was still making money. So I really looked at that and I thought that was my first delegation project.
I love that. Well, also reminds me a little bit of the whitewashing the fence scene in Tom
Yeah,
Sawyer. So
yeah.
I really love that. I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about you mentioned that you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, that you like to work with entrepreneurs. You
Hmm.
mentioned authentic marketing, which is obviously something that Transcendent Solopreneur and the
Yeah.
purpose-driven prosperity model is about. I would love for you to share more just about what does that look like for you and the way that you approach both entrepreneurship and marketing with authenticity.
Well, I think entrepreneurship is about if you have a product or a service or even a digital product, people have to feel connected to you in some way in order to spend money with you. And it doesn't matter whether it's $29 or $29,000. It has to have that human connection. I'm a huge fan of AI and AI tools, but when it comes down to it, if your message and what you're selling isn't of need and service to other people, it's not going to sell. So I really stress creation of things from the standpoint of your ideal client. Don't sell what you want to sell what your ideal client needs And then, it's more fulfilling that way. But also, I think the authentic piece for me, I am a little colorful. I will drop the F bomb once in a while, not here on this live, but I will. And I think I'm bold. I'm much more polarizing than I used to be. Either you like me or you don't, and I don't care. I'm here to motivate and help you make more money, but more importantly, have more time off and have more time with your family. To what is the use of making more money if you're not enjoying your life, if you're not having great relationships with your business partners, your referral partners, and if your kids never see you, what good is having a business? I know I
Mm.
started this business because I wanted to be at home when my son was a baby. And my corporate job that I had had for 10 years didn't allow me to do that. So I just thought, I need to go back to entrepreneurship, and I need to create something that is
Mm.
fulfilling, rewarding, but that other people need. So I think, so if I help other people do that, it really becomes a reflection of my authenticity, because I've already done it. It's taken me 16 years to get to the point where I am now. And other people think I'm an overnight success. No, it has
Mm.
not been. But helping other people do that quicker, and I think with less distraction. I
Mm.
think I'm a great simplifier for entrepreneurs. No, don't do that. You don't need that. And I'm not afraid to say that anymore. And I think that comes across when people meet me. They kind of know that I'm no BS, and they're done with the BS and they want a straight shooter.
Yeah, I really love that. I mean, authenticity it can be a tricky word. I think it's kind of
Mm,
good to define our terms and know what we
yeah,
actually mean by things that we all just kind of think we know.
yeah,
There's like this. I remember Noah Kagan. I call this kind of stuff authenticity porn, like where I'm just going to unabashedly be me, and
yeah.
so you actually over you go too far over the line
Hmm.
and you mentioned polarization, which again another can be a triggering word. I'm a very firm believer in the power of generous polarization. I think it's good for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business people to be very, very clear about who they are for and who they are not for, and what they
Yeah,
do and what they don't do. And if
yeah,
people can learn in the first 10 seconds or 1 minute whether they should click away or shake hands and move along, I think it's generous for both sides. And so a core component of this for me, and I'd love to hear your take on this, is if you are going to be if you are going to be authentic and polarizing in a way that is true and generous and of service to others, you
hmm,
really have to know who you are, what you're good at, and where
yeah.
you belong. And I'm just curious about how do you go about helping people with identifying those things, like what are their core values, what are their guiding principles, what are
Mm.
their skills and talents, what is their product for, and so forth, so that they can market themselves, brand themselves authentically, and attract more of the right people.
Well, it's such an incredible question, because I had to do it for myself first. And about 4 years ago, I was kind of at a inflection point or reinvention point in my business. So, I had been a health coach for 5, 6 years, very successful. Um, Algorithms changed on Facebook, and I wasn't getting the organic leads that I once was. And I had this opportunity to go back to school for my master's in positive psychology. And that pivot from health coaching, and I was health coaching entrepreneurs because they're attracted to me. And So going back to school, it showed me with my other classmates in that program who were all coaches, consultants, using positive psychology, how much I actually knew about the online space because I had done it for myself. So I had my first couple business mentorship consulting clients and I loved it. I became obsessed with business growth. And 5 years of that, I kind of became disillusioned with the amount I was working. So it was too many hours, too many clients. I wasn't doing group coaching at the time, and I was kind of overwhelmed. But I was making great money, so it was very hard to like change and pivot. So I hired a coach who has become a very dear friend, and he and I did 14 different assessments on me, from DISC to human design to numerology, astrology to Clifton Strengths, all these assessments. And the beautiful thing that Charlie did for me, he took all of those assessments and compiled a report. And we got on Zoom with 7 of his coach friends, and they all told me about me. And it was the most surreal experience, out of body almost. And one of the other coaches asked about my entrepreneur experience, like, how many businesses have you started and what were they? And as I went into that detail, everyone, all those coaches kind of had this look on their face like, wow, she's really done some real world stuff, not just online. And kind of crafted a new confidence for me. And none of that was found outside of me. So I think the knowing that I already had all of those qualities, experience, knowledge, to to see it in myself and then to acknowledge it. And I don't brag about myself very often, but when I do, I'm able to say it so clearly. I've started 6 companies, 4 incredibly rewarding exits, and 2 massive failures. And that's where I learned all my lessons. And if you want to learn those lessons that made me walk away from a $5 million a year salary, that's an authenticity that I can now own with such
Mm.
confidence because I did that inner work. I didn't look to some guru or some PDF or some freebie to give me those insights. And I think that's been the key for me. As much as I would love to think that it's one of my certifications or the master's degree, nope, it wasn't. It was the willingness to look internal. And that's what's driven the success of the last 3 or 4 years.
I love that story. My very first post on Substack was called "Start with Who," because
Yes, I love that post. I loved
I,
it.
I, I'm a firm believer. Like, I think everything we need to know, actually, we already know already. I think we are born
Yeah.
sufficient and whole, possessing all the knowledge we need to succeed, but
Yeah.
we get corrupted by society and institutionalized education and occupation. But the other thing is, um, ancient wisdom, like, the Oracle of Delphi inscribed above the entrance says, know thyself. And and your story speaks exactly to that. But the other really important part of your story, your share, is that you can't read the prescription from inside the bottle. And so, like,
No.
I'm a big fan of those surveys, the Colby A, and
Hmm.
the one that's you mentioned positive psychology, and there is one that the name is escaping me right now. It's the character
Oh, Clifton
values of
Strengths or the VIA character.
yeah, the VIA,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
those. And I encourage all of my clients to do those, but I also encourage them to not do them by themselves. Like get a trusted
Yes.
friend or spouse or someone that is going to
Yeah.
call you on your BS, because we try to engineer, just like we do on social media, we're trying to engineer design the way that we want to be perceived instead of the way that we actually are. So I love that you did that with a coach who was able to say, "Hey, this is who you are,"
Yeah.
because it's a pattern interrupt for the narrative in our head, especially if that narrative is not as empathetic as it should be.
Oh,
Um,
and my narrative, just full transparency, she's a bitch, and I had to break up with her. She was very hard on me. She was condescending, almost demanding of me. And, in a way, that can be so destructive for an entrepreneur. It's great to have high expectations for yourself. I'm a high performer. I was a semi-pro athlete. I am a high achieving person. I have high standards for myself, but that can go too far and be almost over demanding of yourself. It can lead into a little perfectionism or just a hyper achievement. And, I think that's what resulted in me working too much. And I won't say I was burnt out as a coach, but I was definitely doing things that weren't moving the needle as far as business goes. And the other thing that I liked what you said, this idea of not being able to read the label from inside the bottle. The most transformative thing for me was going back to a couple high school friends of mine, two high school friends and a college friend, and saying, tell me about who I was when I was in high school or college. And my one girlfriend, longest girlfriend, we've been friends since first grade, she said something that changed a business model for me. And it was that I was the includer. I was the person in school when the new person dropped in our class. I made friends with the new person, included the new person, found out about the new person, introduced the new person to the crew. And I looked at her and I said, oh my God, that explains my love of community, that I want everyone to feel included, supported, seen, and heard. And that shifted something in my business for me because it's a natural ability. Why resist it? Enhance those natural abilities. And, now I have a thriving paid community that all feels the same way about each other. And that to me is just absolutely an incredible lean in to who I am that is now benefiting other people.
yeah, well, huge fan of community. My community of paid subscribers is, the least percentage of my income, but it's also receives my most attention and
Yeah.
responsible for my most fulfillment and joy. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I really want to make sure that we get to AI, but I want to circle back to something that you said earlier because it really resonated and is something we talk about quite a bit in the circle and inner circle communities here on my Substack, which is, you talked about all of the like real life lessons and experience that you brought into, the way that you approach coaching and entrepreneurship and community building. And that really resonates with me because I have been doing what I've been doing. I was a professional musician for 30 years.
Mm.
I had a lesson studio. I had a brick and mortar music store, and all before the internet was a thing, or
Yeah.
before social media was a thing. And so, or digital business in general. And that has been the most profound influence and inspiration for the way that I think about doing
Yeah.
business online. And so I'd love to just, one of the things about where I made a living as a musician and a music store owner and a guitar studio owner. It's a very small town. Like, you can't get away with being a bullshit artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a phony, people know you're a phony really quickly. They might
Yeah.
still smile at you in the grocery store or the post office, but they're not going to do business with you. And
Mhm.
so this whole idea of authenticity that we started with, and just, the way that you show up and the way that you engage and how you show up generously, even and with that generous polarization that you talked about. I'd like to hear any insights you have about what your experience was as a non-digital business or non-online business owner, entrepreneur, and how that's inspired or influenced the way that you do business online.
Well, I think that foundation for me, I was 24 when I started my first business. It was a retail store, and my list of people was on a legal pad, name, address, phone number. And so I had to talk to people. I had to pick up the phone and dial and call people if I wanted to fill a snowboard trip that I was organizing, or if I was having a special sale. I called all my inner circle people and said, "Yo, it's 40% off this weekend." Right. So there was this natural, at least for me, this natural way of pulling people closer into that inner circle, regular customers. They referred other customers, right? And I think that always stuck with me. I was comfortable doing it. And that's the interesting piece. My high school job, um, sorry,
No worries.
notifications on my phone. Um, my high school job was at my family dentist. Before computers, I was in charge of calling people to confirm their appointment. So I had no fear of picking up the phone and saying, "Hi, Mrs. Smith. It's Sue from Dr. Tim's office calling to confirm your appointment for tomorrow at 2 o'clock," over and over and over and over and over. And that practice of initial rapport, I think, has served me more than any of my coaching certifications. So I think that natural ability in my first business to do that, of course, I didn't know it at the time. I know it now, looking back. And I think that translates really well. Those lessons from in my 20s of having a really successful business. Why was it successful? And how can I use those natural skills today? And I will say that it was a unique product that was not in New Jersey yet. We were taking a California product, bringing it to New Jersey. That taught me about category design and being your own category of one. And then the rapport piece and the people piece, give people what they want piece. And I think about all of those lessons now, and it wouldn't have been as valuable if that business was still in existence today. It's valuable because I lost that whole business in my divorce. It was valuable because I had it up to here, making $5 million a year, and then nothing. That's what makes it valuable.
Mm.
And yeah, I just think that natural ability to connect with people, and now let's enhance that. Let's take that to the next level, for me, has been the game changer.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you mentioned category one, which makes me want to dive into the whole idea of preeminence and preeminent
Yeah.
positioning. But before we go there, I really want to talk a little bit about AI. You and I, initially met in Jennifer K. Hill's community, and
Hmm.
we are both in Jonathan Mass community, and I see you doing amazing things in
Thank you.
there. And with Jonathan, and I think that you and I are vibing on the way that AI can be used as,
Yeah.
authentically and in alignment and as a augmented or amplified intelligence as opposed to our trying to replace the humanness of what we do.
Yeah.
There is a lot, and my people in my community are mostly in alignment with the way that you and I think. But right now, like on Substack, there's a lot of there's a lot of people getting out the torches and pitchforks when it comes to AI because it's fear, and
Yeah.
I don't want to dismiss that there are good reasons to be thoughtful and deliberate and maybe a little bit skeptical about how we approach AI and so forth. But I would love, again, just because maybe it's a way of validating some of the things that people are hearing from me. But I'd love for them to hear it from someone that's a true expert at AI and authentic application. What are your
Well,
thoughts, just in general, around
well,
how
I do
entrepreneurs
have
and solopreneurs can do that?
a great story to share. Um, I use AI as an amplifier for me.
Mhm.
So it does a lot of writing for me, but it sounds like me because it is me. I'm putting so much information into it. I don't go to AI and say, write me a LinkedIn post for today. I'm giving it so much more context than that. But I think what will be impactful is a client story of mine. A brilliant branding photographer who we've been friends for years. And when she saw me teaching AI tools, practical application of different tools, and then automations, and then when she saw my AI photos, she was mad. And she said, "How dare you make 200 AI photos of yourself when I could have done a photo shoot for you?" And I said, I did it in 10 minutes and I didn't have to drive to New York and I didn't have to buy the clothes. I didn't have to travel to Paris or Machu Picchu. And like, I have the photos now. And full transparency, I disclose that they're AI photos all the time. But mine are so good 95% of the time that my own husband thought one was actually me. He was like, "When did you go there?" I was like, "Haha, this morning." And so my conversation with her was about not getting left behind as a photographer and a branding expert. And I said, "How can you be on the cutting edge of photography and branding by incorporating AI into what you do?" So instead of just being able to work with people who come to your studio in New York City, you can now work with somebody in Thailand and be known as their photographer and you've never met them in person. And she was like, "Well, how would I do that?" And so we had this conversation about an app that she could get on her phone, that her clients could get on their phone. She could take actual pictures of them on their phone. They send her the real pictures, and then she can make more with AI for their brand. And it's all in the works right now because she was open minded to see how her photography skills, lighting, creativity could all be used with AI. And I would argue enhanced tremendously with AI. Instead of that fear that AI was going to take her business, she now has an AI offer that's
Mhm.
$5,000. And that's incredibly exciting to me to change someone's perspective like that.
Well, I just want to piggyback on that example because it's
Hmm.
brilliant. and I have photographers in my community that are nervous about AI, and illustrators and all sorts of, musicians that
Hmm.
are nervous about it. The thing about AI is if you stop thinking about it as artificial intelligence, someone that's trying to do what I would do,
Yeah.
and think of it as augmented or amplified intelligence. All it's actually doing, if you're attracted to either Suzanne or my work, you are a person that believes in authenticity and integrity and intention and empathy and ethical employment
Yeah.
of everything. So we're just going to assume good intent here. Like, yes, AI can be used for all sorts of nefarious purposes. Those people are not listening. If you are a creative person, a coach, nothing can substitute for what we're doing right here. A
No.
human to human
Yeah.
collaboration, conversation, interaction. And what I love about your story is that you help this person, this photographer, simply amplify what she was already doing. The AI can't substitute for her taste and for her experience and for her perspective and
Yes.
approach, but it can allow her to generate many, many more images of of increasing quality really, really fast. So it's by augmented or um, amplified intelligence, it's helping you do what you already are doing a little bit easier and a little bit faster, which allows you to do more work and better work for more people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a question of approaching it with that mindset. Like, if we're going to approach it with fear, we're going to get the kind of results that
Yeah.
that anxiety thinking gets. But if you approach it with the curiosity and the mindset that, how can I employ this very powerful tool in a way that will help me do what I do even better, even faster, and help more people accomplish more of what they want to accomplish. So, and just one quick plug, my friend and mentor Seth Godin has recently released a mentor deck. Uh, I had a conversation with Marcus Aurelius this morning.
Uh,
That's so freaking cool. It was like a dream come true. And it cost me $25 or whatever this cost.
nice.
So there's a
No,
lot of cool things that can be done.
oh, well, I will make sure to share with you. I have a little board of directors that Jonathan Mast helped me create for my business. And basically, it's a custom GPT, one that's a business strategist, one that's an economist, one that's a digital marketer, one that's a stoic philosopher, and one that's my dad. And my dad passed away in 2010, and he was a big fan of mine. And I can talk to all of those people at in one conversation, or I can separate them and talk individually to them. And the Stoic philosopher one and my dad are always in agreement. And I didn't know that that was going to happen. And when I saw it happening, I now understood where this love of practical wisdom, modern tools, like we're talking AI, so like look at us, we're live. I didn't even know you could go live on Substack till you did it, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I got to figure out how to do that." So I love things like that. And who would I be if I wasn't embracing modern tools as an entrepreneur who does what I do? So if there is a computer, I'm going to use a computer. If there's a new type of cell phone, I'm going to use the new type of cell phone. Oh, AI came onto the scene. I started using it 2 years ago. Of course, I wanted to play with it. Of course. And as new tools come out, the hardest part for me is picking which one do I play with. It's ridiculous. So I I really feel like it's a tipping point for entrepreneurs. If you're willing to experiment and play, it can accentuate what you're doing And at the same time, it's here to challenge your thinking. That's it. And if this conversation between you and I know you and I are on the same page with this, but for those people who aren't on the same page or might have a little bit of fear, I like to think of it this way, that fear has never gotten you anywhere in business. It hasn't. You have to be brave. You have to be bold. You have to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, whether it's number of hours, a task, or embrace something that's slightly different. Right now, it's not going to be different. In another 18 months, I don't think it's going to be abnormal to be using AI.
Well, I love that. You're actually touching on exactly what I wrote on Substack about today, which is
Really?
fear. And
Wow.
fear, my assertion is that fear is a compass. It
Mhm.
is a useful tool. It's just you have to use it in the right way. Fear only comes up if you are pointed in a direction that's worth paying attention to and possibly exploring. Fear doesn't enter the room when you're trying to decide what to watch on Netflix. But if you're pointing in a direction where you know that there is the possibility for growth and maybe success and putting yourself on the hook, fear's going to come up. And
Yeah.
because it wants to keep you humble and hiding, because it's safer to just do what you've been doing. But if you can flip the script a little bit on your relationship with fear and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, fear, for letting me know that I'm looking at something that's worth looking into more deeply," and then surround yourself with your board of directors, virtual or otherwise.
Yeah.
I'll just one quick share, and then I want to ask you a final question. But I actually created a coaching bot that's built entirely upon all of my intellectual property. And all of my coaching friends said, "You are absolutely nuts. Nobody will buy from you ever again because a coaching bot does such a good job."
Nope.
I have, I have doubled my business since I made, and so the coaching bot is available to just my paid subscribers.
Hmm.
And even they said, "Why would I ever hire you if I can just work with this bot?" Well, the bot's still a bot. It's not a
Yeah.
substitute. And the answers tell you, "Hey, I'm just a bot. I'm not a substitute for the real thing, but here's what I would say." And people
Mhm.
would then reflect back to me what it said, and I'd say, "Well, I would actually look at it this way, that way, or the other way." And because they were able to get some traction
Mhm.
by working for free with a virtual version of me, it has gotten more people up to speed where we can work together now as an accelerant, as a
Yeah.
catalyst to helping them close the gap even faster and easier. So for anybody that has any reservations about sharing their IP in general, but in the age of AI, where it can be scraped by AI, it in my experience, if you are truly good at what you do and you are truly a person that behaves with ethically and empathetically, with intention and integrity, it's only going to help you.
I 100% agree. I have numerous custom GPTs for different things that I actually get paid to do with my clients, and I give them away. I recently challenged one of my subscribers. She's a coach for people who want to leave their corporate career and start a business. And she was having some issues gaining traction. I said, give it all away. She was like, oh, I mean, the panic, the fear that she felt. I said, give your whole program away, step by step videos, talk about it, make a custom GPT that will help people start their side hustle before they leave their corporate job. I said, give it all away. And that $3,000 program that you're holding on to for dear life becomes a $50,000 I'll do it with you offer. And she could not think of it that way.
Mm.
And so a bot, if I had a bot that gave her that advice, it could give that advice, but it could not interact with her and change how she thinks about that. And that's how I look at this. AI can help you do things, automate things, create things, but it can't change thinking. That's what coaching does. Coaching is mental models and changing biases. It's changing how you're operating in the world. AI can't do that. So I'm willing to give away everything I do with clients because working with me is going to change your perspective. AI can't do that.
Yeah, we're totally in alignment. I tell my community and my clients and my readers, nobody is going to pay you for your information because all the information is now free, all of
Yeah,
it.
free.
And
Free.
but what they will pay you for is implementation and acceleration and being seen, heard, and understood.
Yes.
So give it all away. Do your work out loud and in public. Let them watch. Your people will find you. Suzanne,
Yes.
this has been such a fantastic conversation. I always try to end with just, if we've had a kind of a wide range of conversation here. We've touched on a lot of topics and a lot of things and a lot of themes. If there was just one final piece of knowledge or exercise or practice or principle that you have, the folks that are tuning in are advancing solopreneurs. They already understand the game, but what they're trying to do is play their game and not the game that society has set out for them or some guru or digital marketer is telling them they have to do. What would be one final tip, trick, principle, maxim, whatever you have to help someone take a just show up slightly bolder and take a small step into possibility and their potential?
Do the internal work on yourself. Know yourself better than you know anyone else. And I think that when I think about that, the amount of time that I've spent there, it's had more of an ROI for me than any networking, any course, any coaching. And so invest there. And I spend a couple hours a day reflecting on the day before, learning about myself. And when I think about that time, it's become my most cherished time of the day. And if you're willing to do that, I would 100% guarantee advancement in your business.
I love that. I love that because ROI in that context doesn't just mean return on investment. It means ripples of influence. It's a
Oh, I love
really
that.
profound, really profound point. Well,
Yeah.
we want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we appreciate the gift of your time and attention. We hope that this conversation will help you take the next bold, deliberate step toward building a business that's both prosperous and purposeful. To take a deeper dive into all these kind of ideas, you can go to creativeonpurpose.com and you'll find training and ways to connect. If you're watching on YouTube or social media, please drop a comment, a question, give us a like, share. It helps more of the right people connect with this content. And if you're listening on the podcast, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. It really helps more of the right people collide with this content. Suzanne, thank you so much for the gift of sharing your experience and wisdom with us today. And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much.